Is a bipartisan issue, though, because the border has been terrible under multiple administrations.
Well, we had the lowest border crossings when Donald Trump was in the White House that we've ever had.
Yes, but I still feel like it's going to take some bipartisan legislation.
How can he walk around that? Yes.
Donald Trump really was very beneficial to the black community when he was in the White House. I think the attacks are fairly... Why is that funny, Charlamagne?
I'm just like... it's hysterical. But I mean...
But no, Charlamagne,
because people act like there's no such thing as Google, or we don't have TV, we don't have radio.
Well, what is it that you think that he said?
How do you ask Mexicans and Muslims to ignore a lot of the rhetoric, Haitians to ignore a lot of the rhetoric that he said about them that is dangerous, that has villainized them, that has demonized them?
Well, I would say anyone who's coming to this country illegally, he's very against. And every American should be very against.
Exactly.
If you're an American citizen, Donald Trump doesn't care your religion. He doesn't care what you look like. He will work for you, and he wants to make this country safe for you. We should all want a secure southern border. A lot of the comments get misconstrued that he says about people coming here illegally. They're breaking our federal law to come here illegally.
Exactly, Charlamagne.
And that should be upsetting to everyone.
Lara Trump went on The Breakfast Club and got Charlamagne a little irritated and embarrassed, really, by her logic that she presents. It's SeanDaniel here. If you guys enjoy the videos, consider subscribing or just even liking. Let's jump into this interview and see how Lara puts him in his place, especially after his audio town hall where he was kissing up to Kamala Harris about how great she is. Let's check this out.
Donald Trump really was very beneficial to the black community when he was in the White House. I will say I've never seen this man say a racist thing. I think the attacks are fairly... Why is that funny, Charlamagne?
I'm just like... it's hysterical. But I mean...
But no, Charlamagne,
because people act like there's no such thing as Google, or we don't have TV, we don't have radio.
Well, what is it that you think that he said?
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
This morning, a bitter backlash after President Trump referred to Haiti and African nations as S-hole countries during a meeting on immigration Thursday.
This remark by the President of the United States smacks of blatant racism.
Here's what I'll say.
A lot of those comments were real. Mexico was sending criminal, bad people. He didn't say Mexicans were all those things. Also, have you guys ever been to a third world country? I've been to a few, and they can be shithole countries. The quality. Now, maybe he shouldn't have said that, but it's not a racist thing. If you've been to a third world country, you know what he's talking about. Let's see how Lara gets out of this one. She should be prepped because this lie is spread continually.
This is a man who, as I said in the beginning, was beloved by so many people in this country, and he was friends with everybody.
A lot of celebrities.
Jesse Jackson, by the way,
please don't,
his
please
Rainbow
don't do
Coalition.
That. He had black friends. That's not going to work.
No. He let them stay rent free in one of his buildings. The Rainbow Coalition, because he felt like at the time that was a very important thing. You can go pick apart somebody all you want. It is a traditional talking point to attack Republicans, to call them racist. But when you look at the things that he wants for this country, he wants every person to be successful. He wants Black Americans to be successful, Hispanic Americans to be successful, women to be successful. And he worked that way when he was in the White House. And whether you want to talk about actually funding in perpetuity historically Black colleges and universities, whether you want to talk about the First Step Act that allowed 30,000 nonviolent felons to be released from prison.
That's pretty huge.
The 1994 crime bill actually put in prison. These are things that really have, I feel like, spoken to a lot of people, but more so than anything, the economy right now is such that I don't care who you are. It is hurting you, and it is something that he wants to fix. He wants every American to have their shot at the American dream. And, I hate that is the constant knee-jerk is Donald Trump is a racist, Donald Trump is a racist. I can tell you he wants every person to be successful. He'll work for every American equally. He did that the first term when he was president, and he'll do it again.
How do you ask her like
that? That's so true. Impressive by Lara by stepping into this lion's den. But I know about this, Trump's ability to care about Black people and not be so racist, because I was at the White House at this young Black leadership event where Trump had tons and tons of Black people in the audience, in the White House, Candace Owens, a bunch of other people. I worked this event, made the video for it. He was so normal with all of us in the audience. And yes, I don't understand why you can't say, I've seen it firsthand, but why can't you say that I have black friends, that makes me not racist? If I'm racist, I wouldn't have black friends. If I'm racist against blacks, I wouldn't have black friends. Why can't you use that logic? Let's hear how Charlamagne backs out of this.
Equally, he did that the first term when he was president, and he'll do it again.
How do you ask Mexicans and Muslims to ignore a lot of the rhetoric, Haitians to ignore a lot of the rhetoric that he said about them, that is dangerous, that has villainized them, that has demonized them?
Well, I would say anyone who's coming to this country illegally, he's very against, and every American should be very against.
Exactly.
If you're an American citizen, Donald Trump doesn't care your religion. He doesn't care what you look like. He will work for you, and he wants to make this country safe for you. We should all want a secure southern border. A lot of the comments get misconstrued that he says about people coming here illegally. They're breaking our federal law to come here
Exactly,
illegally.
Charlamagne.
And that should be upsetting to everyone.
But when you make these broad generalizations, you do hurt the Haitian Americans that are here, the Mexican Americans that are here. They all get labeled and villainized and demonized.
Yeah, but you know what? I think people are finally seeing through that. It's very easy to clip up something like that and say, like, oh, let's push this out here. When he's referencing these things, he's talking about people who are illegally in our
Exactly.
country. He doesn't want us to have 350 people on the terror watch list here. There's a guy who was arrested the other day, an ISIS member who was arrested the other day who had planned a November 5th election day attack on American citizens. ISIS was eradicated under Donald Trump. We did not even talk about it anymore. He got into the White House and he talked to his top military brass and he said, okay, you guys tell me, how long is it going to take to deal with ISIS? Because ISIS was a big threat. People were constantly talking about it, worried about terror attacks. And they said, sir, it's going to take us a couple years maybe. You know, we have to call the White House every time we want to have some big operation. And he said, how about this? You guys just go do whatever it is you need to do. You don't need to call me. You guys are the experts. I'm not a military expert. You take care of it and let's see what happens. 4 weeks, ISIS was gone. The fact that we're talking about ISIS back in the here in the United States of America, an ISIS member should terrify everybody. The open border has been a disaster. So yeah, he's upset about it. And yes, he says things about people coming here illegally, and rightly so. And you and I, as American citizens, should be the ones absolutely infuriated that this has been allowed to happen.
I agree with you. The border is a disaster. I feel like the border is a bipartisan issue, though, because the border has been terrible under multiple administrations.
Well,
he wanted to build the wall. Also, when you really talk to a lot of these, let's call them Haitians, let's call it Haitians, Mexicans, even South American people sometimes, they're like, the ones that did the immigration the right way, they hate the ones that did it illegally. And that they try to say the border's been a disaster forever. Trump was trying to build the wall. You've seen how walls work. When they have presidential debates, what do? They build a big fence around the big building where the presidential debate is to keep you out from the building. Then they have security guards. They don't just only have security guards with no border because a border wall is a waste of money. I don't understand the logic. She did pretty good right there. And we should be infuriated by the illegals. We shouldn't have this compassionate attitude.
Is a bipartisan issue, though, because the border has been terrible under multiple administrations.
Well, we had the lowest border crossings when Donald Trump was in the White House that we've ever had.
Yes, but I still feel like it's going to take some bipartisan legislation.
How can he walk around that? Yes. Okay, so it was great among Donald Trump. You can't say that he didn't do a good job and she's doing a shit job.
In the White House that we've ever had.
Administration.
Well, we had the lowest border crossings when Donald Trump was in the White House that we've ever had.
Yes, but I still feel like it's going to take some bipartisan legislation, to actually fix things at the border. You can't do executive orders. You can't do that. So how come they can't come to terms on that? And why did Donald Trump shoot down what they said was one of the most comprehensive bipartisan
Oh my God!
If you actually read what was in there was like $60 billion for Ukraine. There were so many issues with that. It would allow 1.8 million illegal immigrants into our country a year. I mean, it was nonsense, honestly, Charlamagne. And we should all want a secure southern border. It's why Donald Trump built over 500 miles of border wall when he was in office. And, I went down to the border wall and I saw it with my own eyes. I went down to Yuma, Arizona about a month ago. And to talk to the people in those communities, they say now every state is a border state because of this. The people who live in Yuma, Arizona are being so negatively impacted. If you're a pregnant woman in Yuma, Arizona, they kind of say, you may not want to plan to have a baby in our hospitals here because they're so overrun taking care of people who cross the border. It's dangerous. They say a third of women are sexually assaulted. The people there told me it's probably closer to 50% who come up over the southern border. So it's terrible for them.
Wow.
But because of them having to take care of all the illegal migrants coming over, you can't even be assured you're going to have a place to deliver a baby in Yuma, Arizona. They say you're going to have to drive either 2 hours to San Diego or 3 hours north to Phoenix. And so having gone and seen it with my own eyes, I'll tell you the most infuriating part to me. You have this border wall that Donald Trump built, and then laying down on the ground where you have a wide open section are pieces of the border wall that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because they campaigned and said, we will not build another foot of Donald Trump's border wall. It's laying on the ground. And there are people who come right through there. They could stand it up right now if they wanted to, but they won't do it. That is very frustrating, I think, to see right now that we paid for that. It's right there ready to go. And if they're not leaving it on the ground, then they're selling it for, pennies on the dollar.
If the bipartisan border bill was so bad, like you say, how come so many Republicans were for it until Donald Trump intervened to say no?
I don't think Donald Trump intervened at all. He's not in elected office right now, and
he literally told them not to do it.
That I don't think that's true. But I also no. Well,
that bipartisan bill would not be centered around building more border wall. We know that. And if Kamala Harris, this is a good thing to think about. If they really cared about people and keeping them safe, the reason they wouldn't allow the open border, also, let alone about us, because obviously they don't give a shit about Americans, but if they shut down the open border, way less people would be coming up through Mexico, through the cartels, and way less women, like Lara Trump said, would be getting sexually assaulted and abused by the cartel along the way, because they wouldn't be coming along the way up to the states because they would know the border is closed. So not only are the Democrats negatively affecting Americans by having an open border, but they're allowing all the criminal things to happen along the route up to the border that people voluntarily take. It's their choice. But that probably would not be happening as much if they had just followed the directions of Trump, keep building the wall, keep the border closed, keep the low border crossings. So it's not just about Americans, which should be the first priority, but it's also about the people coming on the way.
Ask Donald Trump yourself. He will tell you.
That's a good question. I wonder for you, how tough is it having the last name Trump? Because you are the co-chair of the RNC. Mm-hmm. You do have the last name Trump. We know you're the daughter-in-law. How hard is it for you to have to always answer questions about Donald Trump?
Well, nothing prepares you for this. I can tell you, growing up where I did, I would have never expected to have the last name Trump. I certainly would have never expected to be involved in all of this. And yeah, sometimes it's challenging, but I'll tell you, I really believe when history looks back on this man, this is a man who never needed this job. Mm-hmm. You have to think back, like we were talking about before, Donald Trump was beloved by so many. He really got involved in politics because he felt he could make a positive difference. Mm-hmm. And most people would have had that first term in office and seen how much they fought against him and said, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. But he decided to come back and do it again. They indicted him, not once, but 4 times, mugshot, obviously 2 assassination attempts.
That's crazier.
And this is a man who continues fighting for this country. And I will tell you, I'm incredibly proud to be his daughter-in-law. I'm incredibly proud to have the last name Trump. Does it come with its challenges because there is a lot of negative information out there about Donald Trump? Absolutely. But I can't think of anything better that I could be doing right now than trying to fight for the future of this country. And I really believe that when people think about their life with Donald Trump in office and their life right now, they will always say, my life was better with him in office. And we should all want a great country. And that's what I want. I want it for my kids. I want it for everybody's kids and grandkids. And it's not just about right now, it's about the future of America.
You keep saying...
So true. I don't really want to listen to this guy. He's ridiculous. But she made some great points, and that's tough to go into the lion's den like that with all these people that are just so against Trump, and to be so mentally prepared to handle all these lies that you got to bring up facts. It's not that easy. Shout out to her. She handled that very well. It's Sean Daniel here. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.